So we're in the Tech Host breakout. So what we will cover here are the roles. So first, we're going to talk about the importance of being a Tech Host. Second, are the steps and the tools needed. Third, how to set up the meetings, and you're getting a little experience here as Eric's in the background moving people around to breakout rooms. Fourth, we'll cover the purpose of the breakout rooms and doing polls. And finally, the Tech Host also supports all the other roles. So you're going to help support the lead, presenter, the extractor, the scribe, and the planner. So this is a new role, and it's only necessary if you are doing a virtual visioning. So if you are doing an on-site visioning, there's no need for this. So as we go through this section, you know what? Go ahead and put any questions that you have in the chat window, and we'll be able to, if I find time in the presentation, we'll address it then. Otherwise, before we let everyone come back into our room, we will try to address everyone's questions. But this is something that's new, and you don't have that if you're on site. So let's go ahead and let's start with, we will start with the purpose of the Tech Host. In its simplest form, the role of the Tech Host is to set up and deliver the platform on which the visiting facilitation will occur. This role may open opportunities for new team members who have never been part of the district visioning team. So let's go ahead and let's do a quick poll here. So everyone has submitted. Eric will pop up our poll.
Yeah, just remember you do have to click the submit button at the bottom of that polling window once you've to register your response once you've selected it. All right, it should be everybody at this point then. So okay, so we have looks like 80% have done both on-site and virtual, and there are a couple of you who haven't decided exactly how your district's going to be doing it yet. I'm assuming you'll be working with your district zone visioning chair to coordinate on that.
So good. So obviously you're going to be, this is important that we go ahead and do this. So what do you need first? First, either the district or the Tech Host will need to have a paid Zoom account. If you don't have that now, you can do a monthly or annual subscription. And if you purchase it, there's a Rotary discount. So you see on the screen there, there's 20% cost savings just by entering Rotary-ZM-20 when ordering. Now the team lead will have coordinated the schedule with the club coordinator. The club needs to be ready to support online meetings effectively to support a virtual delivery. If you have a club that has not been met at all virtually, you may want to double check that they have the skill set to pull off a virtual delivery. We recommend the 2-session model. Both of them about 2 hours in length. Normally the second one's a little bit shorter. Preferably at the same time, and we'll show you the reason for that a little bit later, and at least one day apart so we have time to do our roles to set up the second poll and let people vote on it. That'll be a little clearer when we get into setting up the Zoom meeting. You can do a longer session and do it in one single day with a break midway. But we have found the adult attention span in a virtual setting fades if more than 2 hours. And I have anyone else besides Diane having trouble with my audio? I see the head shaking no, so I will try to speak clearly and hopefully it may be on your side. So if a virtual meeting goes over 2 hours, we will probably lose attention span. And we'll cover that a little bit more later. Today, we won't have time to spend on all the features of Zoom meetings. And we are assuming there's a baseline level experience with setting up a Zoom meeting. There are many videos available if you need some more training. We recommend, if possible, the tech host be on a desktop computer with 2 monitors and a stable internet connection, preferably a landline versus using the Wi-Fi. Having done a number of these, we see how things can fail. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to start up a Zoom meeting.
Right, I'm going to get to the sharing of the Zoom platform itself. Now, I've gone ahead and set up in advance a demonstration of this so that we can show you what we're looking at here. But we've already created the template for some of this, but Michael's going to walk us through as I'm going to show you on the screen exactly what it looks like from the settings.
So yeah, we're going to go over the settings that we should be setting up. So when we set up a Zoom meeting, it is imperative when you start the meeting to set up for security, reporting, and breakout rooms, and use. And as Eric has set it up ahead of time, we strongly recommend that you set up your first meeting as a template. It'll save you a lot of time as you do second, third, and fourth meetings, and we'll discuss what you'll need to change as you set up future virtual meetings.
All right. Are you seeing the Zoom frame now?
Now we have it. Give a little thumbs up if everyone's seeing it. Okay. Awesome. So here we're going into the Zoom meeting. And what we want to make sure is that when we go down to security, we want to make sure that we have registration is required. Choose the initial dates, and you'll want to make it recurring. So in our example, I think we're doing a Tuesday, Thursday event. So we say it's recurring daily. It's going to repeat every 2 days. And you can either end it with 2 occurrences or put the end date. Either one will just allow it to happen twice. We're going to say that registration is required. And then we have a suggested passcode. You can leave the default passcode in there. And then to have a waiting room. Have the host video on for both the host and participant. And then audio, we want to allow for both. So we do, on the meeting options, we do not suggest allow participants to join at any time. That way you can control, your team can get in ahead of time, do the last minute checks before you have the participants getting in. You want to mute the participants upon entry. We will check the breakout rooms pre-assigned. Now the breakout rooms are used in the second session, but when you set up your Zoom meeting, you can set it up with breakout rooms. And automatically record the meeting. So, and one of the reasons we say to have a recurring meeting, that way one registration will allow them to get into both meetings. But we said earlier, you heard Jill talk about setting them up at the same time. When you use a recurring meeting, it will make it both be at the same time. So it just makes it easier to do that. And here you see, as Eric has shown you, that we are running it for 2 hours. The second meeting will most likely be a little bit shorter, but people normally are not unhappy if we finish early.
Exceeding expectations.
Exactly. Okay, use your reactions and give a thumbs up if you're comfortable with what we have done so far. I see a couple thumbs up. Nick and Diane? Okay. Excellent. Very good. Now we need to customize the meeting. What we've done so far is what you could do as your template. So from your Zoom meeting screen, choose the meeting you've set up with the first date. And on the right-hand side, it shows copy invitation. So here, this is where you want to put in information. So go to link, and which is the link you will send to the team lead. So this invitation goes to the club coordinator. The club coordinator will be responsible for distributing it to all the club members. We now want to set up the communication settings for this thing. Scroll down to the bottom where you see a list of settings for registration, email, branding, and poll. Now we're going to go over each one of these. With the registration, highlighted in blue, go to the far right and choose edit. We say that you should set up to automatically approve. That's our approved method. Otherwise, when someone registers for the visioning, there will be a person who will get an email. That person will have to approve it to send it back. So our preferred method is just to set it up to automatically approve. Now, the last thing to check is to allow the participants to join from multiple devices. And you never know what people have in there, or they might be moving around. So we recommend that you check allow for multiple devices. And we also say send an email to the host when someone registers, so you will know who's coming. Now, don't quite say yet. Let's go to the questions. Now, these are the questions that are set ahead of time. We just want the last name, and we also want to go into a custom question. And the one that we want is the number of your current role and your years in Rotary. So that's it. Now we can hit save all, and we have now set up the invitation that can be sent to the lead, who can send it to the club coordinator, and then all the club members who are going to participate in the event can register for the event. Who feels comfortable with what we have just covered here about setting up that invitation? Give a wave or a thumbs up. Okay, very good. Now, just to give you one more piece of advice, if you do not have a paid subscription, everything we've done here, you can test on the free subscription. The free subscription limits how many people can join. It limits how long the meetings can be. There's a lot of limitations on it, and that's why we said don't. You need a paid subscription. But if you just want to learn these Zoom tricks, you can do it on a free subscription. You can set up a 5-minute meeting. You can go ahead and practice all of these things. So if you don't have the expertise, you can practice that way.
Okay, it looks like Diane has a question.
Yes, Diane.
I think there's different types of paid subscription. Is this a business subscription? Is this because we purchased ours as a 501c3, and I was told it was a business version, but I'm finding that sometimes the features aren't there. So do you know exactly what we should be purchasing?
As I understand it, the business version and the charitable organization or nonprofit version are identical. The difference may be, Diane, in the more global settings. Some of the features you will not see in the meeting setup unless they are in the more global settings. One example of that would be like the mute participants tab. If you, if you have it checked in the global settings to mute, to let people mute and unmute themselves, the option to have them come in muted will change in the meeting setup feature. So sometimes you will need to go back. Okay. Keep in mind, guys, that there is a whole host of FAQ training videos on the Zoom platform. In today's program, we don't necessarily have the time to go in great detail on every specific item. But if you do have other issues, we can certainly take it offline, or you can refer to the Zoom tech support training videos as well.
Okay, let's move on. So now we're going to go into the email settings. The default email will be you. So if you want the tech host to receive the registrations and come to you, if not, choose edit, and you'll be able to determine who will receive the notifications for when someone registers for the event. There are 3 places that you can edit. You can edit the subject. So you probably want to put in, the subject line of the email that goes out, the confirmation, and a reminder. So reminder that you should not share this email when they get their confirmation because it is individual. So everyone will have to register by themselves. You will not be able to share your login. We also recommend that you log in on a computer or laptop with a video and audio device. If you do not have that, you can use your phone for the audio portion. So let's go ahead and let's click Save. And next, we're going to go on to the branding. This is where you can upload your district's logos or anything that you have of your vision team and your logo. The banner will be at the top and the logo small on the right in the email. So usually we recommend doing either one or the other, but not both. So either have your logo at the top of the email or on the right. This will help brand your district. Okay, next we're going to talk about polls. Immediately before we go to extraction, we recommend that you do this poll. And you can just read it. But this is to put people in the mindset of your 3 years in the future, and they're reporting what you have accomplished.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So we want to go ahead and then in the poll section of the Power and your Zoom meeting, we will go ahead and set up the polls. So we're not going to show you this now. If we have time at the end, we can cover it. But there will be 2 polls. There'll be one poll right before extraction in the first session. And then we also recommend that you do a second poll at the end of the second session. And this is just a survey. You can do it with the poll in Zoom. You can do it with the SurveyMonkey. We don't really care, but we strongly recommend that you do a second poll. And this is an example of our second poll. Will have 4 questions. So you can see this is the 4 questions that we would like people to do at the end. What was your experience with the club visioning? And we go from there. And you'll see here, Eric switched over. And if you edit that second poll, and you see that there are 4, he just sets it up as 4 questions, all as single choice. And then he can just execute that at the end of the session. Any questions with the polls? And I know we went over it quickly, and this is something we recommend that you practice on your own. But set up the polls ahead of time, 1 for the first session, 1 for the second session. Okay, we're going to move on, and we're going to go into the breakout rooms. We have a poll question for ourselves. So go ahead and answer this question. Have you set up breakout rooms? Have you attended Zoom meetings with them, or you have no experience?
Yeah, go ahead and answer the poll, and be sure to remember to submit the response at the bottom. All right, looks like everybody's pretty much responded. So it looks like, share the results here. It looks like 100% of you have attended sessions with breakout rooms, but never set them up. So this will be new to everybody in the room. So we'll go ahead and we're going to give you some guidance on how to set up the breakout rooms. Michael's going to walk it through while I demonstrate.
So let's go ahead and let's see the options you have for breakout rooms. Because in the initial setup, you said that you're using breakout rooms, we can now go ahead and we can So here, Eric's in the breakout rooms there. And right below, you'll see where it says Save as Template. We can go in here. We recommend that you set this up ahead of time. So you'll go in here, and we recommend that you have 3 to 4 participants in each breakout room. So that will be done later where you'll sign them. But when you're setting up your breakout rooms, depending on the number of people who've registered for your event, will determine the number of breakout rooms that you need.
For example, if you have 20 people attending the workshop from the club and you want 4 people per group, you would set up 5 breakout rooms. Mm-hmm. And they're real simple to add or delete. You can rename them as well. You can also then manually add the individuals by just typing in their name. If your team lead and club coordinator prefer to have specific individuals grouped together. Otherwise, if they prefer to just have them randomly assigned, you can do that as well.
The good news is that all of these skills that we're talking about are generic. There's nothing that we've talked about that is unique to club visioning. These are general skills that can be used for any Zoom meeting. So if you find some people in your district who have a lot of experience in setting up Zoom meetings, you may want to bring them onto your team and get them to be a technical host. They don't need a lot of vision experience. The technical host just needs experience with you doing Zoom meetings.
One other thing you might have noticed, everybody, is that I did post a couple of documents in the chat. I would encourage you to go ahead and download those documents. They are the technical guides, which are also available through your district visioning coordinator on the IVFC website. However, these documents are, like, for example, the specific language in the invite email that you saw me posting in my template are in these documents. There are documents that will help you with setting up your breakout, and they also walk you through step by step how to do what Michael's just introduced you to this morning.
Good. There's a Club Vision technical guide.
Yep.
So you go ahead and when you have time, you can download that, and it covers. It's not exactly the same script we have, but it covers the same principles. Let's go on to the action plan now. So we said at the end of session 1, you will have finished with a SurveyMonkey poll, and that's what your scribe would have done. Before session 2, a second voting would be done, and as you start session 2, we start getting into the action plan. So let's go back to our meetings. Our Zoom meeting, and we're going to do the second meeting. And here is where for the second meeting, before the second meeting, you'd want to assign people. So when you have, when you're in the breakout rooms, you'll assign them, and you will assign them based on their email address. So it's simple as going in there, clicking room 1, just typing in the email address. Now, most likely the tech host will have to get it from the lead. So the lead will have received the confirmations of everyone who signed up, and part of the confirmation is the email address. You get it? So the tech host, before session 2, will just assign the people into the different breakout rooms. And you do that just by typing in their email address. When you've done it, so you put in 4 in the first room, you go to the second room, 4 more. Just repeat the process until you are done.
Mike, where does it pull those emails from?
Whoever you set up as to receive the email responses of someone registering, they will have to send it to the tech host. You do not have it in here.
There is one more section we need to cover here, Michael, which is the reports, and that's where we'll get the email addresses. When people register, Zoom will capture their name and email address. All the information that was asked on the registration questions will be captured, and then we'll show you how to get to the recordings.
So let's go on to, now we're going to go talk about the planner. So the planner We'll go through instructions to the audience. So this second session will be just like the first. There are a couple of reference documents that the team lead should have emailed to the attendees prior to the event. However, like Eric did earlier, you may want to have them and post them in the chat area. These documents are available to download from the IVFC website by your district chair. So after the instructions are provided, you would then enter the breakout rooms. Ensure that you set the breakout rooms for 15 minutes and then choose send people to the breakouts. And this is where they will actually go ahead and attempt to create a plan. And they really do need the 15 minutes. They will all be doing the same plan. And when they come back, they will discuss the differences. So at the end of the 15 minutes, close the breakout rooms. The participants will be provided with a 60-second warning, and then they will automatically return to the main room. Again, you see that the tech host role really doesn't need a lot of knowledge about club visioning. The skill set is more understanding Zoom setup and delivery, as well as having the computer access, preferably with multiple screens. So let's go ahead and let's look at the rules of the Zoom. This is the same presentation that you saw earlier today. And it's frequently the tech host will do this. But just another side benefit here. You can, as the tech host, since you're probably the most technical person on the team, you can also possibly be the scribe, because that's the other technical aspect. So the scribe who has experience with SurveyMonkey. So it is possible to do both roles, be the tech host and the scribe. It is not ideal. We prefer to have those roles separated, but it can be done. So beginning at each session, normally the tech host will discuss the tech slide. And this is what we did earlier today. It will then instruct the attendees on how to mute, unmute, raise their hands, lower their hands, and put messages in the chat window. The tech host may also be the one running the PowerPoint. And if that's the case, yeah, we'll have to be doing the screen share. Or you will need to ensure that the presenter or whoever is running the PowerPoint can do the screen share. They may also be the co-host if you're running the PowerPoint. They're running the PowerPoint from their computer. So based on your team, you may also be asked to help monitor the chat and raised hands. The team may also request the meeting to be recorded, which you would have to announce at the beginning of the session so the attendees are aware that you're going to record the meeting. So now, Eric, we're going to move over and let's discuss, you discussed earlier, the other thing the tech host would be is able to run reports before and after the session. So from your Zoom account, go to Account Management on the left-hand side. When you click on that, you'll see the option of Reports. Go to the meetings, go to Reports, and then go to the Meetings. And from there, you can run the registration and poll results. So someone asked earlier, how do you see all the emails? You can do it from here. You also can do it as the email confirmations when people register. So go ahead, and do you have a confirmation from one of your previous meetings?
And this is where you would then generate the report. It does ask you to choose which type of report you want, and then that would pull up the spreadsheet that has the actual report. We're not going to go into micro detail on this, but you might notice, though, that let me back up a screen. And when we were on the Reports tab for the meetings, there were two options. The registration report is the one you would pull before the event to identify the list of the folks that are attending that need to be sorted into the different breakout groups. Again, if your team lead and club coordinator would like them pre-sorted, you would use the registration report for the email addresses that need to be set up in the breakout rooms. The poll report is the one that you would pull after the event to get their answers to the survey questions. For example, if you're using Zoom to do that ending event, feedback survey.
Any questions on using the reports? Howard?
I just have a comment, and I just learned this, and everybody else may already know this, but when you have the icon on your computer, if you click that and try to do the setup from that, a lot of these features aren't available. And I learned that the hard way. You have to actually log in through Zoom, and nobody told me that until I couldn't do something. So for somebody, so anyhow, it's just
Any other questions that you have?
Looks like JD had a hand raised.
Yeah, this is kind of going back to the beginning, and maybe you covered it. Sorry if you did, but setting up a template, for future use. How much information can go in the template versus all these additional steps that as part of the setup?
I'll go ahead and tackle that one. Virtually everything will be saved in the template. Occasionally, the polls did not cross in the previous version, but I've noticed that at least in my account, even the poll questions that we typed in did copy across on the template when I saved them over to a new meeting. So that's one of the major benefits about saving them as a template. Is that the majority of those settings, of course, you'll have to change the dates and those kind of things with the recurring dates, especially if the club wants to do something outside of like the Tuesday, Thursday, 5 to 7 time frame. If they want to do something weird schedule wise, you'll have to set up 2 separate meetings. But you can use the same template for both meetings. It just means you'll have different meeting IDs most likely.
The other thing, obviously, the invitation. So when you do the invite, you'll want to put their club name in there. But yeah, so the meeting dates, the invitation, and our notes say the poll, but it seems like Eric is saying that with the latest version of Zoom, you may not even have to do that. I think as a practical aspect here, I would suggest walking through your checklist. You'll just say, yeah, that's done, that's done, that's done, that's done, that's done. But I would go through everything because you never know. Zoom frequently updates, and the time you don't go check everything is being when the time that they changed how something copies across when you go from one to the next. So
anybody terribly scared about the tech host role? No? Everybody excited about doing some visioning out there virtually and being the tech host for those visioning events?
Let me just tell you one thing, and the IVFC team has been doing this since last summer, and we've run many tests and iterations of this process. And I can't recommend strongly enough that before every visioning session, you run a practice. So get your team in place. It can be a half hour, an hour. You don't have to go through everything, but you have to go through every transition. You have to go through every switching of screens, sharing screens, everything that you do, pop up the poll, show the poll. Every one of the times when we switch, you need to go through that for every single visioning session because you have people changing. They'll be working off of different devices. Zoom may change how things work. So we can't stress enough that you need to go do a practice session. Any other comments on your part, Eric?
I couldn't agree wholeheartedly. I mean, guys, it's you know, even Michael and I, we've practiced this thing through now 3 or 4 times together, and there were still a couple of points where we got off script and where we juggled a little bit with you know, getting the right technology manipulations at the right time. So the smoother we do this, remember, our whole role as visioning facilitators is to allow the clubs to experience the visioning exercise. Our role as facilitators are not to teach them anything, not to direct them to do any specific thing, but to guide them through this process. And the smoother we are as a facilitation team, the more effective the experience for the club, because that's what this is all about, is helping those clubs establish that future vision for where they want to be as a club 5 years down the road.
Yeah, everyone can unmute. We can just, well, we're at the end here. The last slide is thank you for your participation. And
Eric,
Yes, sir, Howard.
I got a question for you. Is there a way that you can, or a place where you can check and see what version that you have, or that you can direct the other people you're participating with to identify which version they have, so you all have the current update?
Yes, if you on the Zoom down in your system tray, and you won't be able to necessarily see this on a screen share, but down in your system tray, you can right click on the Zoom icon itself, and then there's an about function, which will tell you what version you have. Now, as far as knowing what is the most recent version of Zoom, but there is also a feature under that same section. If you right click on it, there's a check for updates to make sure that you're on the latest version. And I would encourage all of your team, all of your facilitation team, I would encourage, if you're doing a virtual event, when you're assigned a team, especially if you're especially the team leads and district vision coordinators, encourage your team to go ahead and update so that everybody is on the latest version. If you're all on the same version, you'll all have the same experience, and you'll all be able to help each other more effectively. And the tech host is usually the one that they're going to defer to anyway. When people go, how do I do what? And to end up being the guru that everybody refers to when you are the tech host.
what are the questions? Oh, one other thing. As Eric said earlier, you know, the most successful visionings is when the visioning team is invisible. So it's the club just does everything, and they almost don't notice that you're there. So if you can do that. The other thing is that I've trained hundreds of people, mostly on the on-site visioning. Now we're starting to do it on the virtual visioning. What I would tell you is that whatever happens was supposed to happen. The people you're doing this for do not know when things go wrong. So tell your people to say, we just wanted to show you the things that could go wrong in this. But make it feel like that was supposed to happen. Make them feel comfortable. They don't know what, you guys will see all the things that you missed. I've never had one go exactly perfect. I've probably done over 40 visionings, live ones. But, you know, as long as you don't react like, oh my goodness, what happened here? Most people will not even notice it, and it'll go much, much smoother. So, yeah, last message is whatever happened was supposed to happen. And we have just a couple minutes before everyone will be joining us back. So again, any comments, questions, anything we can do to help you?
I noticed that both of you have a secondary screen showing with just your names. Tell us about that.
Well, I have a different view. So to my left is I have another computer, a desktop that doesn't have a microphone and a video, but I can then put it in gallery view in one screen and then work on and have the chat window up. So when I see the little icon that says chats on the bottom here, I can glance to my left and see what the chats are. everyone has their own preferences of how they see it.
Right. And I typically will set up a second computer. The reason in my case is if one of my primary computers, when I'm the tech host, which I do a lot for our district, I'm kind of the district Zoom coordinator for our district. So a lot of our district level programs, I'm the one doing tech host. And I've had situations where internet will glitch out, or one of my computers will start running a random update or just freeze in the middle of a program. And so I always set up a backup computer that's set up with the same configuration in case my primary machine goes down or gets disrupted in the middle of the program. I can very quickly switch gears and be on my second computer running the program. Just as a fail-safe, a redundancy, kind of like airline pilots talk about.
And that's a very good point. I also would suggest that whatever you have on your team to do a virtual visioning, you have a backup planner. So say your planner is going through and they lose their internet connection, you have a person who's assigned to pick it up right there. Because, you know, we're using technology, things fail all the time. So anytime you have a meeting, so you have a tech host, you should have a co-host. And then you should also have, for every other part of the program, if that person would lose their internet connection or something would happen, you would immediately switch to the person who's their backup. So again, a person could have a second device there. They could be running a PowerPoint presentation on the side. And then if the first person loses it, that person just shares their second screen, and you just continue on with the PowerPoint from that point. JD?
Can I ask to clarify, so with y'all's second machine, you're logging into the same meeting. Is it from the same Zoom account? Does it allow you to do that from the same Zoom account? Okay.
Yes, that's one of the features that you saw me check in the setup when we were walking through that. There is a button that you check on the meeting setup that allows participants to join from multiple machines.
Okay.
You want to make sure you set that up. I guess one last thing I'll show you guys that we haven't. If you guys have not already gone to the IVFC website, here, I'll just pop it up for you. So the rivisionfacilitation.org website, if you're seeing this on my screen share here, has a lot of these resources. And even without having the sign in, the district vision coordinators are the ones who have the sign in information here. But under the FAQs, useful links, and the about visioning, the club visioning, there are some free training videos. A lot of some of the stuff that Michael and I have gone over with you today are on that website that we can cover with you, or that you can get access to.
And if you go back to that site, you see at the page, the bottom page is a sign-in. Scroll down to the bottom. There's your login. Well, if you get that, you get a second tier of menus at the top. So
Right.
That's only for the your district visioning coordinator will have a second set of materials.
But your district vision coordinators have all been given access to this, so that's your primary point person. And again, some of this is, you know, how much do you worry about it until you're assigned an actual visioning project? I mean, until you sign up to be on a team, and I mean, it could be in my district, it could be months down the road before a club sets us up for a visioning and a team is pulled together. So, you know, I usually have a month to a month and a half's notice. I'll jump in and start practicing this stuff again as I get closer to an actual event. I'll go back in and review the videos. I'll look at the PowerPoints again. I'll make sure I have everything set up on the Zoom platform. If I'm the tech host, and I'm going to be the one hosting it. Again, that's all stuff that gets coordinated through your team lead and your district vision coordinator at the time that you're setting up to do an actual event.
Yeah, in our district, what we did is we did a practice with all the vision facilitators. So we set up a practice meeting so everyone could practice their role, and we went through that.